Today on hashtag This and That, I will be discussing body image with Stephanie Akin and Jenna Mitchell.
Just being fit and just, loving who you are.
Right.
So as long as girls realize that, it's important to be healthy, not necessarily skinny. Skinny isn't always necessarily healthy, and that's what I realized because, I got skinny, but I still wasn't happy with myself.
Right.
I know that there were some programs that we did where we would write on the mirrors with lipstick or markers and write that you are beautiful.
Okay.
So to try to deteriorate the negative talk.
Hashtag This and That is a show dedicated to covering a diversity of topics important to women from the perspective and experience of fellow women. Our goal is to give the inside scoop to help and educate women on issues relevant to our daily lives.
Thanks for joining another episode of hashtag This and That on Woman to Woman TV. Today, I'm going to be meeting with Stephanie Akin and Jenna Mitchell discussing the body image issues that many women face. Stephanie, you've been on the show before, actually, and you brought up a great point about body image, which is how I actually thought to do this idea, especially because afterwards you said that it's a very important struggle for a lot of women. So why don't you take me a little bit through your story and why you thought to mention that the first time you were on the show?
Okay, well, thank you for having me again.
Of course.
A pleasure. I love being here. But I have struggled with body image quite a lot in the past. Just being in high school and, feeling all the pressure and the stereotypes and things like that and trying to fit in. There was a point in my life where I did struggle with eating disorders and my self-confidence and things like that. So clearly it's an important issue for me. It's, taking some time, but I'm finally in a place where I'm more comfortable with myself. I don't struggle with the eating disorder as much as I used to. I mean, there's always sometimes setbacks, something like that, but I'm definitely in a better place mentally and emotionally and physically.
Good.
And I just want to share how important body image is to women nowadays.
Okay, great. So I know a lot of times it's a difficult topic to talk about. So I want to thank you so much for coming on and speaking from, a personal place with it because it's difficult. So why don't you take us through kind of how it started and when it started? Because I think a lot of times with the media, it kind of just happens with teens especially, or young adults. I was watching a TV show the other day and the girl was like, my friends were, making themselves puke in the bathroom, so I figured, why wouldn't I? And I was like, oh my gosh. So why don't you take us through a little bit of your story?
Okay. Well, it started maybe in 10th grade of high school. I started hanging out with new people, kind of a new crowd. So I was definitely, comparing myself to others. And I also was, there were other issues going on in my family and things like that that I didn't actually realize were affecting me so much, and I didn't realize were a part of the reason as to why these eating habits came up. But, definitely I was just comparing myself a lot to, my friends, celebrities, and things like that. So in a way, I also struggled a lot with anxiety issues.
Okay.
And I felt like I needed a sense of control in my life.
Okay.
Kind of sort of being the perfectionist and stuff like that. The way that I found control in life was controlling what I put into my body.
Okay.
Or how I got rid of it. So it started out as me just not eating whatsoever. I would, start the day with a cup of tea and then have an apple.
And that would be it all day.
Having a sandwich was too much for me.
And so what was your energy like at that point? And how drastically did you see your weight change?
Let me think. Over the course of maybe a year, I think I lost about 20 pounds.
Oh my gosh. And did you have 20 pounds to lose?
No. That back then, I thought I did. So it was very drastic. I saw a lot of physical changes in my body. My hair started thinning.
Okay.
I was weak. I was always cold, I guess, just because I just didn't have that, circulation really going through my body and stuff like that. So I definitely felt the physical aspect of it. I did purge once in a while, so I would see kind of scabbing on my fingers and on my lips and stuff like that. I would get popped eye blood vessels.
Oh my God.
And I would just kind of blame it on my exhaustion. You know, I wouldn't tell anyone about it, but so it was definitely a lot of physical aspects.
Did anybody pick up on it?
No, but thankfully, I kind of consider myself lucky where I was open about it and I was
Okay.
more honest about it. I know not everyone is the same way and handles it the same way that I did, but I realized that, you know, this is a problem.
Right.
I couldn't, I was very depressed at a point as well. Like I couldn't go out and like meet up with my friends. It was affecting me socially a lot. So I was just like, I can't live like this anymore.
Right. So you
So-
said you started in 10th grade and you're good now. So
Yes.
why don't you walk us through kind of when you realized that you wanted that change and the steps you took in order to do so? Because a lot of times I feel girls don't take those steps on their own, and drastic measures have to be taken where their family or their friends recognize it and have to take them to a doctor or to a hospital, you know, or death happens in,
Right.
you know, worst case scenarios.
Right.
But you were able to pick up on it
Right.
yourself.
And that's when I realized is when I knew it was a problem when you know, the idea came to my head that this is life or death. You know, this is not, it's either I win or I lose, and losing is, you know, being in the grave.
Right.
So I realized that, and you know, it was hard, but, you know, I stepped up and I, you know, came out to my mom about it. I was like, Mom, listen, I'm having some issues. I did a lot of research on my own,
Okay.
just looking up, you know, different doctors and like different facilities that I could go to. And then I started seeing a therapist.
Okay.
I was lucky that my brother, he actually had a friend back in high school who suffered with eating disorders and things. So I kind of had that connection where she was super helpful
Okay.
in helping me get into contact with her therapist,
Okay.
who I have been with since freshman year of college.
Okay, so this is a therapist who specializes in eating disorders?
She doesn't specialize in it, I don't
Okay.
think, but this is where I started to talk about my control issues and my anxiety
Okay.
issues,
Okay.
which was kind of the whole root of the eating disorder. So it was really important to kind of get down to, like I said, the root of it, and to talk about, you know, the problems that was going on in my life and things like that, which have eventually led me to develop a lot of skills that have been helpful for me to control my anxiety, my stress, which in turn helped me to, you know, work through the eating disorder.
Right, and that's amazing because even thinking back to the last show you did where you're talking about meal prepping and going to the gym and your goal was to be stronger, you can see just by that how far you've come.
Yeah.
So that's
Thank you.
amazing. So you said a lot of it was control issues and kind of the group of friends you were hanging out with. I know a lot of times you mentioned also celebrities, and a lot of times, especially young impressionable girls are looking at celebrities either on TV or in magazines. Did that affect you at all, especially with, you know, being skinny and not necessarily, you know, things, so many things are photoshopped nowadays.
Right.
So did those affect you also?
Well, like I said, it was a lot to do with, you know, my control, and it was a lot of my family dynamics, where I compared myself a lot to, I compared my family to other families.
Okay.
And I had to get to that point where, you know, when I did start seeing the therapist, I talked a lot about my family, and how I came to realize that not every family's perfect.
Right.
So I can't compare myself to others because, you know, some families might look like, you know, they have everything, but they don't. And
Right.
it takes a lot to come to that realization that, okay, I can't change my family. So if I can't change them, I can change myself for the
Okay.
better.
Do you think that that's kind of a starting point for a lot of girls who face that issue where it may not necessarily be, oh, I think I'm fat, or I think I need to lose weight, or I'm not skinny enough, but it's actually outside factors that are
Yes.
influencing?
I definitely think so.
Okay. So do you have a support system, or did you have a support system when you were going through therapy in
Yes.
addition to it?
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, I was very open about my issues. So I came out to my mom about it, my family, my friends. I thought that was really important. I was like, listen, guys, you know, this is what I'm dealing with. You know, I'm sorry that I've missed out on so many, you know, fun times and stuff, but I just wanted to let you know where I'm at, and I would really love your support, and they were more than willing to give it.
Okay.
And it was also great to be open to them about it, because if I was having a bad day or if I did have a setback, I would be able to be open with them about it, and they understood.
Right, because a lot of times people have to hide it, which is kind of the question I asked you in the beginning, if people picked up on it, because sometimes people don't pick up on it for quite a while.
Right. And when I did bring it up to my friends, they were like, I kind of sort of had an idea, but they didn't want to impose on me.
Because God forbid you weren't, they wouldn't want to.
Right.
Did you feel beautiful or self-confident when you started, as well as during and then now, kind of how you saw yourself transition and how you felt about your body?
Right. I honestly did not feel beautiful. My goal was to be skinny. And I didn't feel beautiful. Like I said, I got to a point where my physical attributes were affected. My hair started thinning and things like that. And I kind of felt like I was weak. So now I've come to the point where I feel more beautiful because I am taking care of my body, and I'm going out and having a burger every week or something. I'm not restricting myself anymore. And I restricted myself so much to the point that I didn't have any energy, and I just didn't feel great about myself. So now I've learned that, life's a balancing act. It's great to go out with your friends and have drinks and apps, or, have a great time with them and still feel beautiful.
Well, you are beautiful.
Thank you. So are you.
Thank you. So what advice do you have for girls who feel like that may be a path they want to go down, who haven't necessarily started or haven't actually done it, but are thinking, oh, well, I want to be skinnier, or have that imposing factors from the outside?
Right. I understand there's a lot of pressure out there. But, what I want to say to those girls, it's, we're all beautiful. And it actually, the media has been, I don't want to say it's been so much better, but it's kind of improved in the sense where, skinny isn't everything, really. It's, there's been more positive feedback about, just being fit and just, loving who you are.
Right.
So as long as girls realize that, it's important to be healthy, not necessarily skinny. Skinny isn't always necessarily healthy. And that's what I realized, because, yeah, I got skinny, but I still wasn't happy with myself.
Right.
It was important for me to become healthy. And a lot of, things that I did that helped me to get through it was, getting up every morning, looking in the mirror and just be like, Stephanie, you're beautiful. And I think it's important for girls to start, doing that, just to get, their self-confidence up and their self-esteem up, because it starts from within.
Exactly. You have to love yourself before you can love anyone else.
Right.
And now, what advice do you have for anyone who's currently struggling?
You're not alone. And it's hard, but it's important to be open about it. Setbacks happen, and that's totally understandable. Setbacks happen with everyone, whether you're trying to quit smoking and you have a cigarette once in a while, or something. It's important to communicate, because once you start becoming more open about it, that's when you can start taking the right steps towards a better life and help your more positive life.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much again for talking
Thank
about
you.
this. We'll take a break and be right back. Welcome back. I'm here with my next guest, Jenna Mitchell. Jenna, why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself?
Well, I went to college for graphic design, so
Okay.
was very creative and was involved on campus with a peer education group called REACH,
Okay.
which stands for Real Education About College Health.
Okay.
So we had 3 different subgroups. One was HEAL, which dealt with mental health.
Okay.
One was STAR, which dealt with drug and alcohol abuse, and then the other one was sexual health.
Okay.
And so really within the mental health, we did a lot with body image
Okay.
and how it affected the women and even the men on our campus. There were a lot of different programs that we had. We had the body-mind dialogues. We had where we actually created life-size Barbie and Ken dolls, so then you can see the perspective of what these dolls would look like if they were real people,
Right.
and how obscure they are.
Because isn't it correct that if Barbie's dimensions were actually proportionate to a real person, they wouldn't even be existent? Is that something
they're-
like that?
Her, especially from like her chest to her hip size, is so obscure, and especially what her waistline is, she wouldn't actually be able to fit all of the organs in her body, because it's just so out there. She's meant to have a very large chest, very large hips, long legs, long arms, the beautiful hair, but
Right.
if you put it in real life, she wouldn't even be able to function.
And it's crazy to think that's the toy that we give to these young, impressionable kids that many of them view as icons as they grow up.
Yeah, you're always just like, oh, I want to be so much like Barbie. Or I know when I was growing up, I wanted to have the life-size Barbie.
Yeah.
But when you really think about it, yeah, it was the size of a small child, but it was meant to mimic a small child, not the woman that she was supposed to be.
Become. Absolutely. So can you talk a little bit about some of the discussions or some of the issues that these students came to you on campus with, and the struggles that they face? Because you mentioned, yes, this is a problem with guys as well. So how, some of the issues that they came to you with?
Sure. So there were so many different programs that we had on campus. Like I named a few, but I also went to a school that was we had a lot of athletes. So there was always the issue of being really fit or being very thin and going to the gym constantly if you're not in season, eating right, eating healthy, or especially the cliche freshman 15 where a lot of students don't understand that balance. And where you develop the concept of, trying to figure out how to be an adult, but you're still a child. And being able to know what you are and aren't supposed to be putting in your body.
Right.
And then all the psychological issues that come along with that. I know for myself, I struggled a lot with, it was like first semester freshman year, of drinking, partying, all these girls being picture perfect and having to, or wanting to be like that and so I was comparing myself to everybody else and just trying to figure out what the right balance was, and I had a very difficult time with that. So then throughout the years, especially from freshman to sophomore year, I got involved in REACH, and that's really where I took charge in trying to make a difference on campus, because I went through the struggle, and so I wanted to help other women. With the Barbie, we had a G.I. Joe. Like, men think that they are supposed to be super buff and tall, dark, and handsome, and that's really not what reality is.
Right.
Because the G.I. Joe is the same as Barbie.
Right.
They would not be able to function on a basic human level with how they are constructed.
Well, did you guys do workshops in groups with these students, or was it one-on-one peer educating?
It was more of like a workshop type aspect, or
Okay.
even just programs that we did throughout campus. I know that there were some programs that we did where we would write on the mirrors with lipstick or markers and
Okay.
write that you are beautiful.
Okay.
So to try to deteriorate the negative talk. There are other programs like the vagina monologues that we performed, where women perform monologues that other women had written about their different experiences with their body, with love, with sex, and just trying to figure all that out. There's even women that have their monologues about rape and mutilation, so there's just like a whole spectrum of what women have to deal with on a
Right.
day-to-day basis.
So did you see anyone in these programs that came in and maybe was struggling a lot, and through the help that you guys provided were able to get better or at least take steps in the right direction?
Definitely.
Okay.
Especially with my group, we were based out of the counseling center, so a lot of us knew, especially who went through all the trainings that we had to go through, we knew exactly how to approach and take care of a situation, or if we weren't able to deal with it on our own, we knew what steps to take to get the right help. Either
Okay.
going through the counseling center, going to the health center, taking someone to the hospital, calling campus safety if need be. Like, we
Okay.
knew exactly where our resources were and how to get them
Okay.
within the timely manner that needed to happen.
So is this, maybe not that program specifically, but the general idea of it, is that something that's located on every college campus?
No.
Okay.
You have to have somebody through the staff that's willing to create the program, and it's something that I've always been interested in creating, just even in high school. I think that it should be started as early on as middle school, maybe even elementary school, depending on where you're located and everything, but it's really something that needs to be learned early on, that you don't have to be this stick skinny person, that you are beautiful in every shape, size, and color you come in, because that's what real is.
Right. So do you have a success story maybe that you could speak to?
There's not like a specific story, I guess, that comes to mind. It's more of just the growth that I've seen through the people in the program that I was with.
Okay.
How they struggled with their own body image issues and how they've come out, I guess, on the other side of where they've learned to love themselves. And
Okay.
there's even a project that I'm working on now that focuses on the female body and photographing the nude body and trying to make people realize how beautiful it is and show it in a raw way of where it's not photoshopped. Like, maybe
Okay.
there's some color changes from black and white to color, black and white, but no photoshopping in way of distorting the body, because
Right.
with Photoshop, yeah, it's a great tool, but it can really hurt somebody, because you have someone that's normal and you're making them to something fictional.
Right.
And that's what these young women are trying to become, something that doesn't exist, and so that they're striving for the unattainable.
Right. So what has your experience been in trying to get subjects to photograph naked? Has that been difficult?
Sometimes, especially people are like, well, I don't want my face in it. Like, where am I going to be? How naked do I have to be? For me, I want it to be as comfortable as the person is with
Okay.
how naked, what environment, whether they want their face in it, they don't want it, because I'm not going to use it in any inappropriate way. I'm using it as a
Right.
form of art, a form of expression, almost like a PSA type thing.
And trying to help people in a
Correct.
way. Okay. So have you actually begun this project and begun shooting?
I have,
Okay.
yeah. So I photographed a subject where we used a high contrast and light, and then also used different props. Like this particular person, we used a guitar, and
Okay.
so it was just using the balance of the different colors within the guitar against the nude body, and then
Okay.
once I get it onto my computer, just being able to edit it in a powerful way that sends a message that's like, the human body, the female body is beautiful, and we need to respect it the way that it should be.
That's incredible. I would love to check that out when you're done. So what advice do you have? You said you worked specifically with college students. That's a very difficult time. As you said, a lot of people struggle with a lot of different issues. What advice would you give to, girls and guys going through college and the struggle that they are facing?
My biggest advice would be, there's this phrase that I came up with many years ago, is that it takes a strong person to do it on your own. It takes an even stronger person to ask for help. And that's been my main thing, is you can't do anything on your own, so why are you trying to fight a battle
Right.
mentally alone, because you're not going to come out on the other side.
Absolutely.
And so it's always okay to ask for help.
That's very true. Thank you so much
you
for
for having
contributing. You've been great. Thanks for watching another episode of #ThisAndThat on Woman to Woman TV.